Marvel Rivals is the hottest game right now, so this is before you get it and before you purchase the Battle Pass. Let's just see
Hey, we're back
what this
with
guy
another
has to
episode of
say.
Before You Buy. That show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first
Even though most
impressions
people are playing it
of
already.
the latest games releasing.
Or
And
a
in
lot of
terms of
people
first
are.
impressions, the last couple of days, we've been playing Marvel Rivals. Yes, we always see your comments. It is a free to play game. You don't have to buy it. It's just what we call these videos. Leave us alone. So there's a lot to talk about with this one because this is just a straight up Marvel hero shooter. It's from NetEase Games and it is available for Steam, Epic, PS5, Xbox Series X, and S. The footage you see captured here mostly is running on PS5 and PS5 Pro. Most of the footage you see here now is from the current version of the
FPS
game,
is pretty
but
clean, I'll be
also
honest.
a little bit of the beta from a few weeks back. Speaking of a few weeks back, we did already take a look at this game, and I had said that it looked like it was pretty promising. It seems like they got it figured out, and that's still the case now. It definitely has some things they need to figure out in terms of like the battle pass and all that progression stuff, but like as
I think they
core
have figured this out,
gameplay
right?
stuff, this is fun. It's third-person, chaotic, 6v6 hero shooter stuff. You're defending areas, you're killing enemies, you're teaming up with your characters, you know, you're staying on the payload. Stuff you'd expect from this type of game, but in like a fun, flashy, really honestly chaotic third-person version. Is it messy? Yes. Is it nuanced? I don't know for sure. I don't know how much depth it is going to have long term, but what I've really enjoyed is that there is like a hell of a lot of characters here.
Yes, there is.
And
There's a
each
lot of
one takes a
characters to
little bit of
play.
time to figure out. There's definitely a bit of a skill ceiling for some of them. Not in terms of just how
Put it this way: if you play Marvel Rivals but you don't know which one to choose as your main, just play all of them.
you move,
That's the
but
best way
really
to figure it
when
out.
you use their moves, your positioning, stuff like that. So if you can't tell on screen here, most of the time we suck. You know, it takes a little while to figure out some of these characters. And yes, like I said, messy is the word for a lot of it. When all characters get jumbled together and you're just a melee character swinging around, it can feel not really super fun. It can feel a little chaotic at times. But the more and more you play the game, the more you kind of get control over these characters and a real sense of their abilities, it does get better. The Overwatch comparisons are inevitable. Some people get pissed hearing that, but it is what it is. A lot of
But it
these
is,
characters
right?
very much
Technically
feel
is.
like spins on Overwatch characters with their abilities, their use cases, and I gotta say, credit where
I
credit.
think maybe the only difference is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is with Overwatch compared to Marvel Rivals, is you have more character choices than you do in Overwatch, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
A lot of the implementation here is really clever. Doctor Strange actually generating portals that you can then step through and they work like in the game Portal is really cool to see in motion. You got Groot throwing up walls, you got Punisher as Soldier 76 kind of shooting people from afar. The best difference from the beta to now jumping in is that there are just a ton more characters to check out. Iron Fist, Wolverine, Winter Soldier. There's just, like I said, a pretty staggering amount of characters here. And honestly, that's been a lot of the juice for it here with me. Like that's been the fun. The amount of different characters there are to check out and kind of
I
get
think
used
some
to
characters are
is
way too
nice.
OP at
And
the
while I said
moment,
that
by
there
the
is
way.
a skill ceiling with some of these characters and like you really got to spend time with them and figure out how and when they work, there are other ones that are pretty easy to pick up and run with. And all of it works fairly well. You know, a lot of this stuff feels really smooth. Flying around as Iron Man, blasting stuff. It feels satisfying enough. Like with whatever character you're blasting away as, you know, or swinging away at, you get the hit detection, you get the right feedback, the sound, the visual indicators, all that stuff. The game just feels pretty solid and kind of polished. What is significant here, what is kind of unique and special, is that there are team-up moves. You know, like with this big roster of characters, that's already
Which I
impressive in
haven't
and of
seen
itself.
yet.
But
I haven't seen anyone use
essentially
that
on a
team-up
team,
move.
combinations of those characters can activate special team-up moves. Like essentially when Venom is playing with Spider-Man, Venom can actually give Spidey some of his symbiote, increasing
interesting.
his abilities. Same with Hulk or Bruce Banner working with Iron Man. He can essentially supercharge his weapons with radioactive stuff.
Oh, okay,
Also,
that's the reason
like
why. Got it.
Wolverine and Hulk can do the fastball special. So I was messing around with it with somebody. We were kind of having trouble figuring it out. It takes a minute, but like, you know, you can get picked up as the Hulk and tossed forward as Wolverine. It's cool. There are a lot of these little different abilities to check out and experiment. You know, some are really
it just
intense and
depends
involved.
who's on your
Some
team and
feel a
who
little
they're
bit more like
playing as.
passive
I think
buffs and stuff like that.
that's
And
a
again,
big
like I
take
said,
on
it's
it.
all accessible enough
that,
where sometimes you're
team
just going to
power-up.
stumble upon these happening in the game. but I think they're interesting to mess around with and just really try to embrace to get the leg up on the other team. And that's really the biggest thing here. It's one of those games. You got to know what you're doing. You got to know what you're kind of doing in an objective, what you have to do, how to use your teammates properly. That's all important. Communication, I think, for these types of things is often key for people to clean up, but the game does give you all the stuff, you know, the emotes, the markers, shit like that to really kind of get the point across without using voice. Shout out to the people who have been playing it that have been pointing out characters in the sky, because just like the beta, Storm and Iron Man in particular are still really annoying. I feel like I'm always getting sniped by Iron Man, and when you hear his ult happen, you kind of just go, oh, okay, well, I'm dead. But it's still all good, clean, simple, messy fun. One of my only complaints here, and this is kind of like I don't know, like a nerdy comic book person, but it's just some of the characters feel really off. I said this in the last video, but some of the characters just feel really, really corny. A lot of them...
Is it corny or do they feel clunky? If it's corny, it's because of the phrases they're saying or something like that. But if it's clunky, then it has to be movement-based, which I don't think the game is struggling movement-based other than the fact when you're running from spawn to OBJ... Your running is pretty slow, I'll be honest.
Design-wise, look very cool, even a little creative, a little different.
Slightly,
I know Wolverine has been kind of divisive, but at the very least, hey, it's a new variation, a new spin on Wolverine. You might like it, you might not like it. But then there are other things that I just find so corny, like the Punisher just being a really, like a one-note brute that just says, I'm the Punisher, I fight for justice. Whatever, it's
okay,
whack.
So it's corny.
Same with Captain America.
It's very
Some of them
corny.
feel like weird little vague mobile game interpretations of your famous heroes, like very surface level versions of them. There's some cringeworthy stuff, and some of them feel kind of like off-brand Marvel-y, but even still with all that, at the very least, I'm glad with the full roster they have included some more unique characters, like the fact that Cloak and Dagger is in this game. I just didn't expect that. You don't really see characters like that pop up in things like this. And another thing I will say, if you did play the beta and you felt like it kind of ran out of steam, well, thankfully the newer maps here and the modes are better. Some of the maps here I really enjoyed significantly more than the ones they offered in the beta, in terms of just like what you're doing, but also just like how the environments are designed, and also just like the layouts of them, just a little bit more engaging overall. And it's worth noting, when you fire the game up, you get the big home screen, with, of course, has like all like the splashy battle pass stuff, events, all these different things you can essentially work through. These are free-to-play games, and by design, they have this type of stuff. This is kind of how they exist, how they work. A lot of people, especially a lot of people who play free-to-play games often, and people who are kind of like, you know, who this game is made for. I find all this stuff kind of boring and mind-numbing, but some people just play the game to play it. Some people play the game to progress and check off boxes and have a little bit more fun and a little bit more engagement. And the progression here is a little bit mixed. The Battle Pass, in particular, has been definitely getting some heat online, and I agree with it. Before I get into that, it is worth pointing out, like, there is stuff to earn. There are skins, some of them that look pretty cool. They also do some like movie tie-in MCU ones, and some really creative weird ones, and some really ugly ones. There's also daily missions, like there's challenges and repeatables. So there are all these little things you can check off, you know, like, or think about in your head, like in the back of your head while you're playing through, like get this many kills as this character, or do this many assists like this, that type of thing. The missions seem pretty rapid. There's also events and a dedicated tournament page with like the ability to create your own factions and stuff. But unfortunately, with the way like the Battle Pass works, you can't earn Battle Pass XP. Like, you can't do stuff like that just by playing the game. Like, just by playing matches, it doesn't contribute anything to the Battle Pass. It's just all about those daily and weekly challenges. So it kind of feels a little mobile gamey, because it just wants you to like fire up the game every day. And I don't think that's a good feeling. I don't think that's also like a very rewarding or satisfying feeling. Obviously, I'm old school. I still think like at the end of the day, you should play a game just because it's fun and not for all the little shiny objects and goodies and rewards. But still, that's how these games exist. They keep people engaged by, you know, consistent and interesting offerings. But it's about how you progress to those offerings that really makes or breaks a game. We've talked about plenty of multiplayer games in the past that have whiffed this type of thing, and hopefully Marvel Rivals is, you know, receptive to feedback. Hopefully they hear it and change this type of thing, because this definitely can change. And like anything,
as of when this video was uploaded, the one I'm watching, whenever this gets uploaded, it gets uploaded. But I don't think they've changed it to where you can play, and as you play, you get experience towards the battle pass. I don't think they've done that
Anything
as
else
of
with
yet.
the game, the balancing, little tweaks here and there. These types of games exist to be agile. They're free, they update constantly, so I guess we'll just have to see where this goes. Otherwise, I do think this is like a passive fun good time. Do I think it's like the most complex, interesting game? No, but jumping in, firing up, playing as one of your favorite heroes and killing some dudes and smashing stuff and securing a payload or getting an objective and stuff, there's a lot of fun to be had there. Throwing Captain America's shield or tricking people legitimately on the battlefield as Loki, or punching somebody as Winter Soldier with your Winter Soldier arm. Getting that team up with Rocket and Groot and blasting everyone. Nailing the big forward lunge that Wolverine does that's very tricky to pull off sometimes.
Which is
the
very
game
annoying,
does
by
have
the
these
way.
really satisfying, cool moments.
When you're
And so
playing
far,
against
just looking at the
Wolverine.
numbers and stuff, it does seem like people are really digging it. And I think, honestly, like, you know, you're listening or
fresh.
watching this video, who cares what I have to say? It's free. You should just
This is
download
a
it,
fresh
check it
game
out
for
for yourself.
everyone,
You might love
honestly.
it, you might hate it,
So
but
it's
that's
working
usually
out
what
in
I
everyone's
ultimately say
favor.
about free-to-play games. It's up to you. It's not really money invested, it's time, which sometimes is just as important, but that's a whole other video. Anyway, this is before you buy, just a quick one. We give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion, and now we want to hear yours down in the comments. What do you think about Marvel Rivals? Did you play the demo or the beta or whatever? Do you have a favorite character here? And how do you feel about the battle pass stuff? Again, here at Game Ranks, we're not really experts at like complaining about battle passes and stuff like that because it's not really our realm. But still, let me know what you think about some of the drawbacks, some of the positives, anything at all about Marvel Rivals down in the comments. If you like this video and it helped you out, maybe seeing some gameplay, you know, steering your decision, anything like that, clicking the like button helps us out. We really appreciate it. And if you're new, consider subscribing, maybe hitting that notification button, because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
I think the one thing I could improve on is movement. I wish you could run a little bit faster. I think some characters are way too OP, and some characters not enough. Everyone has a main, and I think as soon as you figure out what your main is, when you like play each character or play as each character, you kind of figure that out. But I think movement needs to be picked up a little bit. The Game Pass, if that's what we're talking about, I think you should be definitely gaining level through playing, and that should be progressing you towards the next unlock. But I mean, it's a good change up so far. So if you've been liking Marvel Rivals, let me know. We'll maybe that'll be the next thing we react to on this channel. We'll just wait and see.